Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're dissecting the science, the specific extracts, and honestly, the critical safety data surrounding this wildly popular adaptogen, ashwagandha. If you've been anywhere near the wellness space lately, you've definitely heard of it. But today, we're cutting straight through the marketing hype. We're going to look at exactly what it's doing to your brain and your body. Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll meet the adaptogen ashwagandha. 2, how it calms the brain. 3, ashwagandha versus rhodiola. 4, comparing KSM66 and sensoril extracts. 5, the hidden liver risks, which you absolutely need to hear. And finally, 6, using and cycling it safely. Let's jump right in. Section 1, meet the adaptogen, ashwagandha. So get this, its Sanskrit name literally translates to smell of the horse. I know, right? Not exactly the most appetizing pitch for a daily supplement. But it's actually a nod to its earthy aroma and its deep historical roots. In Ayurvedic tradition, it's classified as a rasyana. Basically, that's a rejuvenating tonic, believed to give you the vigor, the strength, and the stamina of a stallion, all while delivering profound stress relief. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, it's crucial we nail down what an adaptogen actually is. These botanicals don't just act like a stimulant or a sedative. They adapt. They are a highly unique class of herbs that help your body resist physical, emotional, and environmental stressors by actively regulating your body's entire stress response system. That foundational mechanism right there is exactly how ashwagandha helps balance hormones, eases things like PMS symptoms, and just builds up your overall resilience. Moving on to Section 2, how it calms the brain. The really big question we need to answer here is, how does a simple little root physically turn down the volume on the complex human nervous system? Well, it's not magic, it's pure pharmacology. This root is basically launching a multi-targeted attack on stress simultaneously. First up, it regulates your HPA axis. That's the major communication highway between your brain and your adrenal glands that controls cortisol. Second, it acts like a literal brake pedal on your nervous system by mimicking GABA. GABA is your brain's primary calming chemical, so this drops your overall neuronal excitability. And finally, studies show it actually steps in to normalize the serotonin and dopamine levels that chronic stress totally wipes out. And we can put a hard, concrete number on that HPA axis regulation. Clinical trials have shown a massive 27.9% reduction in morning serum cortisol levels after just 60 days of use. Think about that for a second. Cortisol is your main stress hormone, and dropping it by nearly 30%, that provides a huge, measurable wave of relief to your physiological system. Section 3, ashwagandha versus rhodiola. Let's compare. It's really helpful to contrast these two heavy hitters, and the difference is actually pretty stark. Ashwagandha is your calming, restorative, nighttime sleep supporter. It lowers anxiety by up to 56.5% and actively pushes your nervous system toward recovery. Rhodiola, on the flip side, is your stimulating daytime endurance booster. It fights mental fatigue and sharpens your physical endurance. Understanding this difference is absolutely key to knowing which adaptogen to pull out of the toolbox based on what you actually need. All right, Section 4, KSMN66 versus sensoril extracts. Let's talk about what's actually in the bottle. Because, as it turns out, not all standardized extracts on the shelf are created equal. You have KSM66, which uses only the root of the plant, and hits about 5% with enolides. Those are the active compounds. Then you've got sensoril, which mixes the root and leaf together, bumping the concentration to 10%. And then shodan, another root and leaf mix, pushes that concentration all the way up to a massive 35%. Now, you might be thinking higher is better, right? Well, actually, traditional Ayurveda heavily favors the root-only approach, like KSM66, and there's a very specific reason for that. The leaves contain higher levels of a specific compound called witherapharin A, which exhibits higher cytotoxicity. That means it can literally be toxic to your cells at elevated levels. So KSM66 sticks to the traditional and potentially much safer root-only profile. Which brings us to Section 5, the hidden liver risks. This is the plot twist you really need to pay attention to. Because this isn't just some harmless wellness fad with zero downsides. 37. That is the number of documented cases of severe ashwagandha-associated liver injury identified in a recent systematic review. As this herb's popularity has skyrocketed, the clinical reports of unexpected liver damage are quietly creeping up right alongside it. And when we look at the pathology of those 37 cases, hepatocellular injury leads the pack at almost 50%. That means direct damage to the liver cells themselves. Patients in these cases often show up with severe jaundice, that yellowing of the skin and eyes, and just intense, debilitating itching. Look, while liver injury from ashwagandha is rare, given the millions of people who take it, the severity in these specific cases was just massive. For context, normal ALT and AST liver enzymes are usually under 40, but here, we are seeing averages hitting the mid to high hundreds. The outcomes were no joke. One patient required a full liver transplant, and tragically, 3 fatalities were reported. Researchers are actually looking at a genetic connection to the HLA-B3501 allele, thinking it might make some people uniquely vulnerable to this toxicity. But the liver isn't the only concern. There's also this growing clinical debate around a psychological side effect called emotional blunting, or anhedonia. See, because ashwagandha is so incredibly effective at crushing cortisol and pumping the brakes with GABA, some users report a total inability to feel pleasure or motivation. It raises a huge question. Can turning down your body's stress response accidentally turn down your emotional volume completely? It's absolutely a risk you need to be aware of if you find yourself feeling unusually flat or numb while taking it. All right, finally, Section 6, using and cycling it safely. Let's talk application. If you're going to use this, here are the strict guardrails. General dosage sits right between 300 to 600 milligrams daily. Timing really matters too. Take KSM 66 in the morning for daytime resilience, but save Sensoril or Shodan for the evening to help you wind down and sleep. And listen to me on this, it is strictly contraindicated, meaning absolutely avoid it if you are pregnant or have hyperthyroidism, because it can actively stimulate your thyroid. It also interacts with other medications, enhancing the effects of sedatives and thyroid drugs. And here is the golden rule of adaptogens. You have to cycle them. To prevent the rare but documented risk of just completely shutting down your adrenal system, known as HPA axis suppression, you need to follow a protocol. Step 1. Take it continuously for 8 to 12 weeks to build up the benefits. Step 2. Take a complete break for 2 to 4 weeks. You have to give your body a chance to reset. So I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on before adding ashwagandha, or really any powerful adaptogen, to your daily stack. Does your wellness routine respect that fine line between natural adaptation and dangerous adrenal suppression? Ashwagandha is an incredibly powerful tool, with thousands of years of history and rigorous modern science backing it up. But it demands respect, proper dosing, and a very watchful eye on your own biology. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.